Thank you, dear Sister Dr. Precious Moloi Motsepe, Honorable Minister Maite Koana Mashabane, esteemed speakers and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure to join you here today, a day reserved for not only celebrating women, but also reflecting on the challenges we face and exchanging ideas on how to sustainably improve our lives. Allow me to begin by thanking the Motsepe Foundation for this timely opportunity to discuss with great minds such as those gathered here the possibilities of harnessing the role of women in the pandemic recovery. Dr. Motsepe, your efforts to promote the quality of life for all in your country, governed by the African philosophy of Ubuntu, resonates more powerfully than ever. Thank you for sharing the statistics that shows us we still have a lot to do. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought with it unprecedented challenges. Its initial consequences have had a ripple effect on all socio-economic sectors and has threatened to bring nations and communities at a standstill. Women and girls, unsurprisingly, have been affected the most. They are more at risk of infection, given their roles as caregivers, not only within their families, but also as frontline healthcare workers. Furthermore, challenges faced by various sectors, most especially in education, have had a different impact on women than their male counterparts, like you rightly said in your speech. Women in general, in comparison to men, are economically strained, as many have had to limit their work and economic opportunities to respond to increased household responsibilities. My country has also learned that out of tragedy and necessity, Rwandan women have demonstrated unimaginable resilience. Post-genocide data recorded that women and girls made up 80% of Rwanda's surviving population. They bravely stepped in to fill the leadership void, and aided by women's civil society groups, lawmakers have introduced some of the most women-friendly policies in the world. I'm proud to report that since 2003, Rwanda has consistently had the highest female representation proportionally of parliamentarians in the world, currently 61.3% in the lower house, and 53.3% of seats in the cabinet are occupied by women. Rwanda's values and expectations for women have changed in a generation, as more of them have entered the government's ranks. The impact has been inspirational, in addition to shaping laws and policies. Today, seeing women in parliament has given women and girls confidence and pride, as we also acknowledge that behind such accomplished women, there are open-minded men, selfless men, free of traditional norms that too often limit women from flourishing. Esteemed audience, allow me to highlight here an interesting fact about gender equality in Rwanda, as women did not have to fight for their rights in the streets. Rather, these rights were achieved through a conducive environment and legislative action thanks to the vision of our leadership. As expressed by President Kagame, we cannot claim to be on a sustainable path to transform Rwanda if we exclude women who are more than half of the population. However, despite significant achievements, changing conservative mindset is not something that happens overnight. Gender relations within families do not always change at the same pace as government policies. No matter how vast the power of a woman is in public, it can still stop at her front door. We must therefore ask ourselves, what should be the next steps towards gender evolution in our private spheres? How must we engage men and boys in instilling gender equality principles for a young age? How must parents, teachers, and community leaders tackle gender norms, standing in the way of real change within our families and society at large? Indeed, what connecting dots will help us see these frameworks, policies, law, and enforcement mechanism effectively transform our homes to totally free ourselves from all these imbalances. Distinguished guests, like the rest of the world, Rwanda has not been spared by the COVID-19 pandemic. From lessons learned during the Ebola crisis, the country quickly set up a national crisis committee of key ministries when the first cases were reported in March 2020. 1 year later, all systems were ready to dispatch 340,000 doses from a biomedical center warehouse in Kigali to district hospitals and onwards to hundreds of health centers across Rwanda. And this vaccine shipment should protect about 171,500 frontline personnel, as well as other priority citizens such as those over 65 or with underlying health conditions. 1 year into COVID-19 crisis, we take a moment to point to both the disproportionate burdens that women and girls carry and the centrality of their contributions. And for this, mitigation measures would need to include a comprehensive and culturally sensitive approach that integrates challenges of employment, childcare, and education. And I take this opportunity to applaud the Motsepe Foundation for the roadmap to address some of these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, it's my deepest wish that we truly embrace the spirit of Ubuntu, that our dear host, Dr. Motsepe, passionately promotes, and walk away today with a renewed commitment, ideas, and deeper connection geared towards protecting the most vulnerable and precious among us. The late Nelson Mandela once said that it takes a unique woman who can turn the whole world around and make it the best living place to experience. I encourage you, my fellow sisters and dear daughters, to embody this belief, because we, as leaders, sisters and mothers, must continue working hard, especially during this pandemic. As the past year highlighted the gender inequities around us, together we must continue challenging the status quo. To the sons, brothers, and husbands, we count on you to adhere to the he for she principles and walk the journey with us to level the playing field and effectively build the road to recovery. Together, let us not lose the lessons of the pandemic, but rather ensure that women and girls harness their true powers in their homes, their countries, and the world at large. I thank you for your kind attention and wish you all a happy International Women's Day.